Okay, is there an echo on my side?
I think it's good.
All right, it's good. I think the echo is on my part. Well, it is good to have everybody here today. I'm excited. I am delighted that you could join us today. And I'm excited that we can have another webinar today. And we will take some time to just wait for people to join us and other people to log in as we continue. It is a joy and a delight for you to take time to spend part of your Saturday with us today. I know it's morning for some of us, afternoon and evening, almost nighttime for some of us, but nevertheless, we're excited to be able to come here and talk today about family and mental health. That is a passion of mine and of most of you. I'm looking at you on the screen. Actually, most of you here are providers. And so that really speaks to our passion for, desiring to have a family that is whole, a family that that is able to live in a way that, that people are thriving rather than people are just surviving. And it's really a desire of mine to see the African family to increase awareness of just addressing the issues that impact the way we live, the way we do life, the way we relate with each other, the way we handle adversity and challenges. And today I just wanted us to kind of circle back to where we started. I think a year ago we had a similar webinar where we were talking about just family, and COVID had just hit us and we were all thinking about how is that going to affect family, how is that going to affect the way we do life, the way we interact with each other, the way we school our kids, the way we work, and we're all at home. So I wanted us to just circle back and be able to touch on those issues again today and get some tips, get people rebuilt again, get people equipped to be able to deal with issues around just family. How are we raising our kids? I've been receiving a lot of requests from parents like, can you talk to my kid? This is going on. How do I handle this? They're becoming grown and independent, or they're questioning this, or they want to go that direction. It's just numerous things. And we all know it takes a village. It really takes a village for us to do some of these things. Today we have some wonderful guests with us that are going to talk about mental health within the family and just coping with stressors and building healthy relationships. And I just want to let you know that we are recording our session today, so that will be available to us after. In a few days, I'll be able to, you can either just view it via Facebook, or you can also go to my YouTube channel and you can visit that if you want to share it with friends and family members who are not on social media. They can also be able to see that, to be able to view and participate. Now, I've had a few questions from people. Is this just for providers now? This particular webinar is open to everybody. And they don't have to be African. This is not an exclusive club. If anybody else would like to join us, that is also okay. It is welcome for ministers, for church members, for everybody else can come. We have a separate webinar or like a provider circle where we gather as providers. That's on a different date. This is open to everybody to be able to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first panelist today. And we're going to start with our very own, really good friend of mine, Dr. Sarah Gatumu, who is going to talk to us just about share some wisdom with us on different issues that she has encountered, some wisdom about parenting. She is a triple board certified psychiatrist in child and adolescent psychiatry, adult psychiatry, and addiction medicine. She's worked at an inpatient facility within a rural community in Western Pennsylvania. She's worked in crisis centers, outpatient clinics, in drug and alcohol rehab facilities, mainly doing psychiatric evaluations and medication management. She also sees she had been seeing some patients for long-term psychotherapy and also a few clients for life coaching. She's married to a wonderful, wonderful man of God and is a mother of 3 college-age kids. It's such a joy to watch them grow and see them find themselves and go their different directions. So I really wanted you to come in here and share with us some of that wisdom. having raised your kids, mostly here in the US, to where they are right now. And Dr. Gatumu recently moved to Houston, like really, really recently. She's just settling down. And that is a joy because that means she's a little bit closer to me. I think about 4 hours away from me. So it's a pleasure to have you. I'm going to hand over to you. Just run with it. Whatever you want to share with us, we are ready and eager. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lil and Pastor Chege and Juliana and everybody who has joined us today. First I have to say, that, my passion for mental health has taken me to where I am now. I have seen a revolving door, people coming in and out of the inpatient hospitals. And now my focus is mainly towards helping people to address their problems from the root so that they can be free to become everything they were meant to be. So let me share with you my slides. Just 1 second, let me look for where it is. I can't find the one I want to share. Let me just look for it.
Maybe if you close and reopen it again, then it will show up.
Close the whole thing?
Just go back to your document and open it. Close it and open it, and then it will pop up on your shared slides. Is it one of the ones at the bottom?
Yeah, it's one of these. It's one of them, but I had one for mainly focusing on mental health and as it pertains to the Kenyans. I mean, to the Africans and with the stresses of immigration.
Just stop sharing and then it will pop up again and you'll be able to see it.
All right.
All right, then find it and then open it. And then when you start sharing, you will see it pop up in your boxes to share.
All right. And then let me see, share. Can you see it?
Not yet.
And now?
We still can't see it. Did you try and share it? Just bear with us, everybody. We're gonna figure this out. It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Or maybe Pastor can start and then
Right,
I can finish. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. We can have Pastor go first, and then we'll sort you out and be able to find it.
Yes.
And that's perfectly fine. We'll get to it. So I'm gonna introduce Pastor, and then he'll come, and then you come back and bookend it once we sort it out. So our other panelist today is Pastor Joseph Mung'ara Chege, who is actually calling in from Kenya, from Embu. And he is married, actually just saw his son pop into the webinar right now. He's been married for 26 years and counting, and with his lovely wife, Kezia. And there are 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls from 25, 23, 16, and 14. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a registered occupational therapist from Kenya Medical Training College in Nairobi, with the pleasure of working with the Kenyan Ministry of Health in different hospitals, including the Mombasa Level 5 Hospital, the Gilgil Mental Hospital, Nakuru Level 5 Hospital. He's a veteran in doing work in inpatient work, and currently he's in private practice in Embu County in Kenya, and working with mental health patients exhibiting various mental health illness in acquiring stages has really made him take note of key gaps and challenges related to mental health. in the African family. And he's been able to handle mental health issues among families as a way of preventing illness while advocating for right life choices and lifestyles that foster mental health and lifestyle. You know, he's also a pastor. He has a bachelor's in biblical studies from Christian Life International Bible College. And he's a founder of Destiny International Christian Mission and Ministries. And really his pastoral work, just like a lot of other ministers, has enabled him to really be in a place where he counsels families. So offering counseling services to families as a pastor has given him an opportunity to see the other side of mental health, you know, where people are not considered sick, though they're facing mental health issues like stress, undiagnosed depression, anxiety, and all that. And aside from pastoring, he's a music minister and worship leader and enjoys playing his guitar and impacting lives through music. You know, as a side show here, he used to be like my youth pastor, and we planted a church together and we sang together, we did ministry together. And when his hands are on that guitar, it's something else. God, the anointing just flows when that happens. And I do miss having moments of worship and ministry with you. Another thing I really, really love about Pastor Chege is his passion is also pedigree dog breeding and dog training for securing homes and families, specifically German Shepherds and Black Russian Terrier breeds. It is one thing that helps him to maintain a healthy physical, mental state, and has helped him to nurture a working culture, you know, with children, with his kids, and the time they spend with the dogs, especially during school holidays, has really helped them both mentally and physically. I wish I could just get one of those little pups. He has one of his dogs just had, I think, 10 puppies like a week or two ago, and they are adorable. I was messing with him the other day and saying the Obamas just lost Bo and they could use one of those little ones. They are very adorable. If you follow him on social media, you will just fall in love with those dogs that he's breeding and raising. And a few months ago, I think 2 or 3 months ago, we talked about the role of having animals in the home and how they help kids with, you know, just being able to be responsible and take care of another animal. And I'm sure Victor, his son, can attest to that. So I'm going to yield the floor to Pastor Chege to just share some words of wisdom with us around all those areas of activities and also as a pastor and a dad. Welcome, Pastor Chege.
Thank you, Dr. Lillian. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I would want first of all to appreciate you for inviting me to be in this forum and to see you today from who you were those years in Nakuru. I really thank God for the fact that He has brought you. And I was really hoping Dr. would go past, but then here we are. I'm not so much used to this kind of Zooms and all that, but I hope.
It's frozen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll be able to do something. Am I okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I was saying I'm not going to be technical. I'm not going to give slides. Dr. will do that. And also, I'm not going to give out to. Is it going up?
Yeah, just go ahead. I know the connection is a little shaky, but just go ahead.
Okay. So when Dr. Lillian asked me to be, but then I would say to begin with, my experience is that the reason why we have so many issues in the Kenyan family when it comes to mental health is that many people are not even aware that we have anything like mental health. You handle something that we are not aware of. I would say, for me, physical health and mental health are both very important. And just as we take time to take care of our physical health, we think about how we feed, we think about clothing, We think about avoiding contaminations and diseases. And we listen to our bodies. And anytime we feel something is going off, we seek remedies. But how many of us in our families do that for our mental health? I think very few of us. And so one of the challenges I've seen when dealing with people is that they are not even aware they were supposed to be thinking about their mental health. Now, due to that, we think here in Kenya, we think of mental health in terms of people in hospital. And I hope I'm still on. Dr. Lilian?
Mm-hmm.
You're good. Keep
Okay.
going. You're fine.
All right. Okay. So I was saying, because of that, people are not aware of mental health. They don't think about it. So they think only about the patients in hospital. But my experience is that I think there's more mental health issues among what we consider the healthy population than those who are in hospital. As I say, there are so many things you can say about mental health in the family. And for me tonight, I want to give live experiences. I want to talk about something that we can all relate with. I'll use some examples of my own life and some of the people I've dealt with. And to begin with, I was talking to somebody some time back. This person is over 40 years old. And then this person tells me, you know what, I've taken a sabbatical. I'm not going to see my parents. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to see them. And I asked why. This person says, because for over 40 years, my parents have been controlling me. They have been deciding on what I should be and what I should do. And for that reason, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what God created me to be. And I thought about this lady, and we shared more, and we still continue with these counseling sessions. How can it be that the person who is over 40 years old does not know who they are, what they're supposed to be doing? And we may not consider that as a mental health issue, but I can tell you that this person is going through a lot of stress, a lot of depression, may not be under any medication, but this person is going through a lot of issues. And it reminded me of my own personal life. Dr. Lillian knows me as a musician, but there's something that she doesn't know. When I was a young child, before going to joining primary school, I was making my own musical instruments. And one day, my whole family ganged up against me. They said, we don't want a musician in this house. But you cannot make it in life as a musician. And I remember I got a lot of punishment, my equipment was destroyed. And everybody made sure that Joseph does not play music in his house. But this was a God-given gift. And what happened after that was that I began a journey of losing my identity of who I am. And I started listening more to what people think I am than who I really am. You may wonder, what does that have to do with mental health? A lot for children, because when the people around you as a child do not listen to you, they don't know you, they want to force their ambitions on you, that's the beginning of depression in children. One of the reasons is children who do not know themselves, children who do not believe in themselves, children who do not believe in what God has put in them are children who are confused. They are children who are prone to many other mental health issues. Now, what happened to me and maybe to this person I was talking to is that when you lose your identity, you lose your zeal to do what you're supposed to be doing. And for this reason, what I've been talking about children and mental health, and I talk to parents, and when we share, is that to cultivate a good environment, I'll call it maybe a menu or a nutritional thing for mental health, we need to listen to children. We need to listen to who they are and understand them. We need to know them. And we ought not to force our ambitions on our children. What do I mean by that? In our African setup, especially here in Kenya, every family would want to have a doctor, a lawyer, a pilot in their homes. And many children are going through a lot of stress because we as parents are forcing our ambitions on them. We want them to be the doctor that maybe we did not become. We want them to be the lawyer that we really need to show in our clan. And when we do that, we bring a lot of confusion to our children. We cause them to, as I said, to lose their identity. We kill what God has put in them. When we listen to them, when we allow them to grow to be what God has made them to be, it contributes to a very firm foundation in terms of their personal identity. Now, my example or my own personal experience of not being able to grow my musical gift when I was a young person, when I grew up and I wanted to do music, even when we were doing music with Dr. Lillian, I had a lot of guilt in me. I felt like doing music is the wrong thing. And the voices of my parents and my elder brothers kept on talking to me like, you cannot go anywhere with music. I remember I wrote many songs. One time we were working on them with Dr. Lillian and other people. And every time I went on to produce this music, I felt like I was doing the wrong thing. There was guilt in me. I didn't have that strong identity as a musician. You know what? It took so many years for me to really overcome that. And I'm talking more on the side of children because when our children are having mental health issues, we as guardians, as parents, also suffer with them. So we really need to create a very good environment where our children, right from their young age, have an environment of getting to know who they are, understanding their gifts, and knowing that we are there for them to affirm what is in them and not force our ambitions on them. And you know, it played back on my own personal life. As I said, I'm married to a very wonderful woman called Kezia. We got these children, of them. And we really wanted one of our children, or all of them, to be in the medical field just like us. And our firstborn, right from grade 5, was called Dr. Chege because he was very good in biology. Fast forward, he's through with high school, and we are choosing a university course for him. When he tells us, Mom, Dad, there's something I've never told you. And I want us to have a conference tonight. I want to share something with you. Then there's this atomic bomb. It says, I've never wanted to be a doctor, and I don't want to pursue anything in the medical field. I was just following what you used to tell me and what my teachers used to say. Actually, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want anything to do with the medical field. And so we asked him, so what do you want to do? He said, I want to pursue a career in music and theater. And it was like, okay. I remembered what I went through. And I looked at my son, I said, I don't want him to go through what I went through. And we discussed it. And as we speak right now, he's a graduate in music and theater studies. And he's actually working on those songs that I've never worked on. And I'm giving these real life examples because We can be technical about mental health. We can use all medical jargon about mental health. I can speak like an occupational therapist. But today, let me just speak plain language. That it helps a lot in terms of the mental health of our children. When I look at my son today, he's actually in this conference today. He's happy. He's a happy young man. He may not be a medical doctor. He may not be what we wanted him to do, but he's happy and he's carrying on with his life, in a very satisfied manner. And as I said, I'm the first beneficiary. He's now working on the songs I was not able to work on. Now, so I was talking about us not forcing our ambitions on our children and listening to our children. But let me give an example of how I've seen children suffering mental health issues quietly because they are not sick enough to go to hospital. They are not sick enough to be taken to the psychiatrist or have any medication. And again, I'll use my own personal experience. When I was in grade 6, I was doing very well. I was very sharp in school. And I remember my dad, I grew up in a polygamous home. By the way, my dad had 3 wives and we were 20 children. And so there was a lot of pressure. You can imagine 20 children in one homestead sharing the same resources, the same parents. And let me say this for the sake of the men who might be listening in. It's very difficult to balance your love between 2 or 3 men. So, but having said that, when I was in class 6, I was going to class 7, and one of my stepsisters had failed class 7 twice and now needed a place, but there was no slot in that class. So I was forced to repeat class 6 so that my stepsister could take my position. And I was mad because I was position 5 in my class. I got so mad that the following day I went to class, the same class 7. The headmaster came in, gave me a thorough beating. So thorough that as I speak, and I can still feel those canes on my body. And let me tell you, as a child, I was broken. And I went back to class 6, then went back to class 7 the right time. And by God's grace, I managed to be the best student that year. I led in that school and I was very happy. Oh, I'm going to high school. I'm escaping this tyranny of my head teacher and my dad. But guess what? My dad talks to the local headmaster and in secondary school and says, pick this boy for me. So I was taken to a very local school, having scored very high in my primary education. And there began a journey of struggling with depression as a young man. I didn't want to see books. I didn't want to see anything to do with school, but my mom was there for me. And to cut a very long story short, when I was in Form 3, I decided this is my life. So I got into my books, finished high school, was position 1 in my school, scored a grade that had never been scored in that school and was never scored after me. I had a first division, 17 points. Those of those days understand that. It was a very high score. And I went home rejoicing. I waited for my dad to come in the evening so I can give the good news. You know what? He came in, I told him, Dad, I got this. And he looks at me and said, I know. The principal told me. And that was the end of the story. He never congratulated me. He never said anything. And you know what? I went so low psychologically, and I entered a silent, how would I call a silent depression. I went to A levels. I couldn't study. I looked at the books. Physics, maths was foreign to me. And I didn't do well in A levels. I went to, from there, for those maybe you might understand this language, God changed my life. I had an experience with God and started recovering from that point on. I'm giving this testimony because though I recovered, it's like I built a room in my life, took all that pain and locked the door. I never talked to anyone about it. And many years, I got married, I got children. And one day that door opened up, something triggered the memories, and it's like this room was opened up. And I realized the pain had been carrying all these years. The pain of what my dad did to me, the pain of people in my family telling me not to do music when I wanted to do music. And that's when I realized that I battled depression for many years without knowing, and no one knew about it. Thank God, I'm free today.
Amen.
And now being able to have heard of it, I'm free. I'm free. Why have I given those two testimonies? Because how we deal with our children, how we deal with the decisions that they make on who they are, actually determines what kind of mental health they are going to have in their future. I don't know whether my time is up.
No,
Can I conclude?
If you have anything more to share, you can go ahead and share. This is really helpful.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Lillian. So I was saying, when that room opened up, I was in this ocean of emotions. I cried a lot. I was all alone, but I was getting my healing. And later on, I shared with some people, and in my sharing, I really got help. I felt, now I'm over with this. Parents, let's do this. Let's listen to our children. Let's know them. Let's understand that what we tell them is the food their minds feed on. And just like in physical health, if our children don't get very good food to feed their bodies, we know their health will be compromised forever. They may get stunted growth, they might get all these diseases that have to do with nutrition. And actually, I've come to realize that's what happens to our minds, our mental health, what we've been feeding on as a family. When I talk to parents today concerning their children, I advise them that the heart of a child is not different from our hearts. Their minds are not different from us adults. Just as we want people to hear us and listen to us and understand us, we need to understand our children. Many adults are facing mental health issues because of their childhood experiences. As I said, you don't have to be in hospital. You don't have to be admitted somewhere. You don't have to be taking drugs. But then we could be facing, just like me and many others, a certain level of stress, anxiety, identity crisis. Do you know I almost got into drugs in A-level out of that confusion? And one day, my classmates gave me a puff of bangi. And you know what? I'd said all my life, I'll never do anything like that. And I took a puff. And what happened was that I almost went crazy out of one single puff. And I remember praying and asking God, God, tonight I'm going to sleep. And I wake up in the morning saying, I'll never do this again. Thank God. I woke up saying, and I never took that thing again. But you see, what would have led me to drugs was this condition I had of depression, of feeling let down by the people close to me. Now, that's about children, but let me mention something about us guardians and parents and those of us who are family people. If you are married, you remember you are given a marriage certificate the first day you entered that school called marriage. The only school that gives a certificate of completion during the first day when you enter in. And then you go home and you realize, I have a certificate, but I don't know what marriage is. I don't even know how to believe. I don't know how to handle a spouse. Then the children come and they give you a birth certificate telling you a parent, but then you realize, I don't know how to rear children. And all of us have had to go through this trial and error thing. And we have had successes, we have had our failures. And out of the pressure of taking care of our spouses and ourselves and our children, many of us have had issues concerning our mental health. Some of us have been fatigued, we've had stress. But again, I've realized something about us, especially men. We don't pause to listen to our mental health the way we sit down and listen to our bodies. When we are tired, we rest our bodies, but we don't listen to our mental health. When stress is coming in, which we pass on to other people around us, we don't sit down to just relax and ask ourselves, how is my mental health today? How is my mental health today? Now, let me say this. Our children have brains just like us. They have gifts and abilities like us. And this business of us killing ourselves to create wealth for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren needs to stop. Because we believe in our generation that we need to work so hard and leave a big, big inheritance for our children and our children's children. And we don't consider that we have overworked ourselves. We have stressed our mental health. We don't take care of ourselves. Our children have brains too. They'll take care of themselves. The God who takes care of us will take care of them. Don't kill yourself, working yourself day and night because of those children. What makes you think that you're brighter than them? What makes us think that we can work harder than them? If we can work hard, they can work harder. So let's not kill ourselves. Let's just live light. Don't overburden yourself. Let me tell you something, my brother, my sister. The time we spend, the quality time we spend with our children is better than a skyscraper. The flats we want to build, the land we want to buy for them means nothing if we are not there for them. To contribute well to their mental health, spend less time making money. Spend more time making their mental health count. Being there for them, affirming them, because when they are well mentally, we are well too. I'm telling you, I was talking to a friend who visited us in church last Sunday, and we talked about our children, and he told me, Pastor, you know what? We have invested all our youth in our children. We have invested all our strength in our children and all our money. We have not bought land. We have not built many things. We don't drive big cars because of our children. I told him that could be true, and we might be making some mistakes because we only have one life to live. If we invest everything about ourselves in our children, it means that we will not live our lives. Let us give them space also. And just to finish off one point, let's stop living for the village and the clan. Our mental health is very important. We are stressing ourselves to please our neighbors, to please our clan so that we are seen to have prospered. And when things go wrong in our lives because our mental health is not good, it affects our physical health, and they are not there for us. So I've been telling especially men, let's live our lives. Let's stop this business of living to please the village, living to please our clan, living to please our age mates, so that they may see we are also prospered. Let's just be ourselves and be simple. And when you think you are overstressing yourself mentally, take a break. Take a cup of tea. Take a walk. Take a 3-day holiday. Just rest. It's your life. Thank you, Dr. Lillian, once again, and the panel, Dr. Ari, and the others for allowing me to share. I have not shared anything technical. I just thought of sharing my real life experience. I hope to has helped some. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Pastor Chege, what wisdom. What kind of wisdom is that? I am just in awe because what you shared is so powerful, so profound, if you ask me, that, you know, how this helps families and how this, I have no words to just talk about the things you have shared and how that is so valuable, those practical nuggets from a dad. There's something so powerful when a father speaks that is so impactful. There's something just so profound when we hear such wisdom from a pastoral standpoint, from a dad standpoint, and how that is really just building us as a community, building us as individuals, and how that's making a difference in people's lives. And you've echoed such things, the importance of knowing your child, of listening to your child, of not living vicariously through them, your dreams of who you wanted to be, imposing that on them. The pressure is tremendous, especially now. And I like that you echoed, let's not live for the village. You know, let's not live for our peers. The community reputation is not, it's not the end and all. That is so profound, my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, things like how we impose, how our childhood trauma shows up as adults. And, you know, we may not be at a point of being diagnosed with depression or anxiety, but how that impacts and can eat you up quietly and, you know, and have an impact on the people around you. I would say just go and read the comments in the chat box, how people are just appreciating the wisdom you've shared. And we'll come back. I will just encourage everybody, if you have questions for our panelists, just put them in the chat box and we'll come back and respond to them as we continue, but we'll come back and talk later. But right now I want to yield the floor to Dr. Sarah Gatumu. I already introduced her earlier. Those of you who had not come in, she is one of my fave psychiatrists out here, whether she's doing adult and child psychiatry, whether it's work around addiction. She's just a pleasure to work with, and she's a precious woman of God as well that I love to fellowship with. So Dr. Sarah, you're on. I don't know if your slides are gonna be able to share this time.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor Chege. Some of the things that you shared are actually very true. The pressure from the family. And when you were talking about that, I was looking at, you know, the protective factors around you. You had your mother who was there for you. And that brought me to think about a certain patient who she came here, and so the child is the patient. So her mother was very busy trying to go to law school. So she would take the child, put the child with the daycare provider, and the child is waiting for the mother to come. The classes are late. The daycare provider is like, you know, upset that the child is staying longer than is necessary. The child is thinking, is my mother dead? Has my mother abandoned me? When the child goes to sleep at night, the child is having a hard time sleeping. The mother is too busy trying to catch up with her homework. And so a lot of stress builds up with the child. The child doesn't want to go to school in the morning, complaining of upset stomach. But all of this is related to not having enough time with the mother. And so what happens is that the mother's anxiety is transmitted to the child, and therefore the child is not able to be what they were supposed to be. And they end up having they end up being on medication after medication, but we are actually not addressing the real problem. So let me just let me share my slides. I think now I know how to share it. Can you see them? Can you see it?
Yes, we can see them. Just go to the slideshow so we can see them one at a time. Yes.
Okay, from beginning. All right. So my interest is in optimizing mental health in our children in 2021. And what I find is that many of the people, especially children, when they come in, we give them medicine, but we're not addressing the problem from the root. So they end up maybe a few months down the road or a few years down the road, they're back in the inpatient hospital. And so my interest is helping the person as a whole. Now, when we came to this country or whichever place where we are in, we make a choice to position ourselves and also our children in the place that we think would be optimal for them. That's why we made the decisions that we made. And in life, we all have to choose where we are standing, where we are positioned in life. And we have to be aware of what's happening, where we have parked ourselves, where we have parked our children. And like in this particular situation where the person has parked very, very close to the cliff, when a shaking comes, because a shaking will come, whether it is in the health or in the economy or in the school or in the marriage, a shaking will come. It comes to everybody. Whether we will survive the shaking or whether our children will survive the shaking will depend on how close we have parked to the cliff and how sure the ground is that we have parked ourselves in. So we need to be addressing our own bodies as a whole. So some of the things that our children face that we don't face, issues to do with race. We have to educate our boys when you're going in a community or in the public, do this or don't do that. Make sure you don't have a hoodie. If somebody approaches you, make sure your hands are where they can be seen. These are things which they did not ask to be brought up in this environment. We are the ones who brought them here. So this is a stressor. So there is the other issue of isolation. Children who are growing up, their parents are in school, and I'm a culprit too, going to school and the children are being left, so there's that degree of isolation. The community, sometimes where we are positioned, we don't have enough support from other people, either where we are living and back home where we grew up, there'd be neighbors or cousins nearby, somebody would be coming to visit. And many times here in this country, everybody is kind of like alone. So that's another stressor that the children face that we probably didn't face. And then the home life is very different. Many people at home have house help. And so, there is the pressure in the home is different. The number of siblings here in this country, most people don't have 1 or 2 kids, but at home you end up having more children. So if there is a conflict in the home, you have your sister, or you have your other brother, but here sometimes if you're an only child, it becomes harder to deal with whatever pressure the child is facing, and the different kinds of activities that they are exposed to here as opposed to home, and the responsibilities that the children have here is different from the ones that they had at home for us growing up. So there are differences in the way the children are growing up compared to where how we were when we were growing up. Then there comes the issue of assimilation and accommodation. When we come to a new country, a new culture, there are different things that changes, and we adapt. Sometimes we adapt to fit in, and we eat things that what everybody else is eating, McDonald's and spaghetti, which we weren't eating a lot at home. And this changes us at a cellular level. The kind of exercises we were doing at home compared to the ones we do here, the spiritual support, all of these are changes that happen, cultural changes with the assimilation and the accommodation. What happened there and what is happening here. We change so that we can fit in. The clothes that we wear, like if it is shorts and things like that, we change. Maybe growing up, we weren't wearing a certain attire. Now here we are more comfortable wearing this, and our children, they come with different kinds of clothes, and we have to either teach them what we should be doing here in our home, as opposed to the culture that they're growing up in, and the different practices and behaviors. Like say, for example, in our culture in Kenya, we would say mama so and so, and then now here, if people are so used to calling each other by the first name, so it's also cultural changes that we have to adapt or change or help our children change with. And right now we are also going through the COVID-19 crisis, the different changes happening. It's happening across the world, but if there are stressors already, then now you add another stress. Remember the first picture I showed you about the car parked close to the cliff? some people are parked very, very close to the cliff. And so when the shaking comes, it's very easy for them to fall. When you come to a country, the diseases that population have, you actually fit into, I don't know the right word to use, but the incidences of the diseases in the country where you go, you also assume them because of the situations that's going on. So here in America, we have 1.9 million children dealing with depression, and 4.4 million children dealing with anxiety. Not necessarily the ones who are admitted. Most of them are walking depression, walking anxiety, and they are just predisposed to not living fully functioning. From a medical standpoint, we talk about what are the things that are causing the crisis. And of course, now we have, like with depression and anxiety, mental health problems. The main thing that medication addresses are the neurotransmitters, but there are other things that are predisposed to depression. We talk about genetics. Like if a mother tends to have anxiety or depression, those genes will be passed on to her child. When a mother is pregnant, the hormones that are circulating in her body, say stress hormones, the one that we usually talk about is cortisol. When the cortisol levels are very high in the mother, guess where else the cortisol level will go to? It will go to the baby. So the baby will be born with being prone to being very easily anxious, because the environment that the baby was in as in utero, as a fetus, the patient was very stressed, and so the child will end up being more stressed. Then we talk about life events which predispose to crisis. Life events like the ones Pastor had talked about, and also the ones that we all know. We are working, both parents are working, or the one parent is working, the different stresses that causes, divorce, fighting, all these life events predispose to depression and anxiety. And with genetics, if say somebody has a gene that predisposes them to anxiety or depression, but then they have more protective factors, that gene does not necessarily need to be addressed. But then if you have the gene, and then you have the life events, then you have medical problems, then you have medications and toxicities being all mixed there, then the person with being prone to depression and anxiety and other mental health problems, they are going to have them. When we talk about medications, when you see when you go to your doctor, you get a medication, they give you a list of side effects. Now, those side effects are another source of stress to your body, and so that can predispose to genetic changes. Underlying deficiencies, I'll talk a little bit more about that. And inflammation is a big cause of perpetuating the depression and anxiety, and also the toxins that we are in the environment. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Where's the next? Stress and hormonal imbalances. Yeah, I had mentioned that. Now, we cannot eliminate all exposure. We can be proactive. What can we do to make our bodies as whole as possible, so that when the shaking comes, because it's not about if it comes, it's just a matter of when it comes, that we will be in a place where we will have a cushion and be able to be safe and not be as affected. So we can, what do we need to be proactive? We can get the right information. We can eliminate some of the risk factors, which we can, like, for example, what Pastor was talking about, when you listen to your body, if you need to take a break, take a break. The work will still be there. If you drop dead, that job will not stop because you are not there. If you need to take a break, take a break. Eliminate the risk factors which you can. We need to find the underlying cause, not just treat the symptoms, but we need to find the underlying cause. Then we need to boost our immune system. And this is a big part, because our bodies were made in a way that they can heal themselves if you give them the right ingredients and the right nutrients. Minimize stress. That's what Pastor was saying. Don't live up to other people's expectations. You're running a race of one. Be the best that you can be, not comparing with other people. You don't know what's going on in their shoes. So minimize your stress, compare yourself to yourself, set your own personal goals. And what you see, your children are going to be students of you. They're going to watch you more than listen to you. So show them your own example of how you're minimizing your stress. Do the things that's going to make you the best that you can be. You only have one life, and this is not a rehearsal. And take consistent action to position yourself in the best place. And as your children watch you positioning yourself in the best place, emotionally, spiritually, physically, then you're teaching them how to position themselves in the best place, like what the pastor was talking about, pursuing music. And it was a no for him, but it's a yes for his son. So that's a really good thing. So is there a way we can support the body to give it what it needs so that it can heal itself? So if you went to my house and you saw a plant like this, what would you say? The first thing you would say is does this plant have enough water? Is it in the right place as far as sunlight? Does it have enough nutrients? Does it need to have miracle grow? Or is there something that a toxic thing that's in its environment? And so you would address it that way. But when it comes to how we are managing medical problems here, especially in this country, is when a person is sick, the first thing we think about is what is the medical condition they have and what is the medication they need, rather than trying to address the problem as a whole. And this is driven by the pharmaceutical companies telling you, if you have this problem, this is the medicine. If you have this problem, this is the medicine, rather than take a step back. Let's look at the whole picture and then let's make an informed decision rather than just going straight to the medicine. Now, going straight to the medicine is very important in acute things, like a heart attack or somebody is in an accident. But things like anxiety and depression, especially when it's more chronic, we need to be addressing things as a whole. If you are driving your car and a check engine light comes on, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And it's actually a good thing if the check engine light comes on because it tells you that there is a problem. So say, for example, you take the car to a mechanic and then the mechanic doesn't solve the problem, but he turns off the check engine light. And then he gives you the bill and he says, here, your car is okay, but he has not solved the problem. He has just turned off the light. That person has done you a great disservice, because a few weeks or a few months down the road, you get more problems, And it's one thing if the vehicle is your car, but it's another thing if the vehicle is this one vehicle which you're going to use for the rest of your life, this one body which you don't have another one. So when your child, like I remember one time a child came with the mother. The mother didn't have daycare that day. She came with her child. And as we were talking with the mother, the issue of sleep came up. And then the little boy, he was, I think 4, he said, doctor, I'm having a problem with sleep. Can you give me the medicine with the green butterfly? And then at that time, the medicine with the green butterfly is one called Lunesta. So, I looked at the little boy and I just said, what I was thinking is, this is a little boy, he's 4 years old, and he has been trained by big pharmaceutical companies watching their commercials, that when you have a problem with sleep, ask for a medicine instead of, let's look at the problem. Where is the problem? Not just turning off the check engine light. And for him as a 4-year-old, what I was thinking, how many pills will he be having when he is 20 or when he's 30? So we have to step back and not just turn off the check engine light, manage the problems as a whole, look back and and see what is the real underlying problem and optimize the health of the body. One of the things we have here in this country is the health insurance, and the health insurance is actually very good, but your doctor will, they don't have enough time to give you step-by-step instructions of what you need to do to optimize your health. You know, car insurance will cover for big bad things, but it will not cover for maintenance, you know, like changing rotors or doing what you need to do, but it will cover for acute big problems. We need to be more comfortable in doing things that are going to be more preventative rather than trying to heal or to cure something. Let's aim more at prevention. So are you willing to do something different? And, you know, by being in this webinar, you are willing to do something different. You're looking for different information to help your body, to optimize your body first to you. And as you get better, you also help your child and your family to get better. Your health is not your own. There are many people who depend on your health. There are many people who will not be well if you are not well. It is your responsibility to set your child up for success. So there is a role for medication, but then there is a role for prevention and life-promoting activities. And I will talk more about the life-promoting activities and prevention. So the thing that perpetuates anxiety and depression is we are addressing symptoms rather than managing the root cause. We're looking for a quick fix rather than a lasting solution. So we should be interested more in the lasting solutions. We are depending on what the insurance will cover rather than taking ownership. What is my responsibility in this situation? Whether it is in anxiety or depression, what is my responsibility? Your child is looking up to you to make the right decisions to help them succeed. So get the right information for yourself and help you and your child to be successful. So there is a role for medication, and it goes hand in hand with preventive and life-promoting activities. And when we are dealing with anxiety and depression, we use medications, but then there is a role of addressing the body as a whole. One of the things that many people are not consistently doing is addressing the micronutrient deficiencies. And this is one of the things that perpetuates mental illness. And it promotes the revolving door. Somebody comes in, they get a little better, they go home, but then they come right back because they're not addressing underlying deficiencies. A big one is the inflammation. We are living in a very toxic, environment. There are toxins in the air, toxins in the things we put on our skin, toxins everywhere. And then, so if the gut, the gut is the main, it's one of the biggest areas where we need to be focusing as far as inflammation is concerned. So when you eat your food, say you and me, we eat the same food, we are not going to get the same nutrients depending on how inflamed my gut is compared to yours. I'll not be able to absorb as much as I need because my gut is inflamed. So we need to be addressing the gut health. A toxin accumulation is another thing that makes the depression and anxiety persist. Rest and restoration, we're talking about self-care and helping our children also to take care of themselves. Stress management, we have been talking about that. And then the stress hormones, I had talked to you about cortisol and how that affects not only you, but it also affects your child. And when you go to your doctor, these are some of the things that they'll be looking for. And it's good for you to be informed so that you can make a right decision and also ask the right questions when you're seeking help for yourself and for your child. So my name is Dr. Gatumu, and I really enjoy what I do as far as psychiatry is concerned, and I help people to address mental illness from the root. So some of the symptoms we talk about with feeling tired and sluggish, some people say, oh, take a Red Bull, but is that really going to be this? Will that solve the problem? That's just addressing the symptom. You're turning off the check engine light. We talked about the bowel. We need to talk about what you're eating, what you're not eating, and what is eating you. So those are things we need to talk about because that will really be a key in your mental health. depression and anxiety. Those could be indications of other medical problems that you're having. So having a consistent medical care is important. Sleep disturbances, not being able to rest adequately. Rest is very important to help your body heal and regenerate. And weight gain, you find that there's a lot of changes with weight. People hold on to a lot of weight. It could be related to stress, and it could also be one of the symptoms of mental illness. Mood swings, emotional problems going on, parents fighting. This translates to to problems with the children as well. Then the stressors, there are three different kinds of stressors. The physical stress, like a motor vehicle accident, the body is exposed, but then the body starts to heal. The chemical stressors, like when you're eating these kinds of food which are not very good for you, you expose your body to stress. And a big one is emotional stress, because the body doesn't know when to turn off the stress hormones when it's due to what you're thinking or the emotional stress. So that's one of the ones that we really have to manage, either doing things physically, talking with a therapist, learning some coping skills so that you can manage that stress and bring down the stress hormones. So we need to take consistent action and reclaim your health, and mainly boosting the immune system. Let me go to the slide this is a slide that I really like. These are the 5 things that I talk about when we are talking about a holistic approach to management of mental health. Nutrition, the detox. We need to detoxify what's happening in the liver, what's happening in the kidneys, skin, and spiritually, what's happening in your mind. Are you holding on to so many things, anger, unfulfilled expectations and dreams? All that is a stress, and it needs to be detox. And this is spiritual detoxification. When you realize that where you are not alone. God is there with you. And so you need to learn how to let go of those things. Physical exercise, hormones, and getting a mentor. There is no problem in saying, hey, lift your hand up and say, I need help in this area, and follow some steps and directions that somebody else who has either gone that way or who has been trained and knows how to advise you in that area. Follow a mentor. And these are just the areas that we were talking about as far as exposure to toxins. And I had also talked about the food, and if you eat food and your gut is inflamed, you won't absorb everything you're supposed to be absorbing. Even organic food, you're not getting the full benefit of it because your body is not in a state where it can absorb it. This is what we're talking about with exercise. When you're walking the dog or you're in the car, make sure you're doing physical exercises. It's really good for you, even for your endorphins. It helps you. And these are the kind of hormones that we deal with when we're addressing mental health. We need to address the person as a whole. And this is what we're talking about, mentorship. Don't be afraid to fly a little bit with somebody who has been on that route before. It's not a sign of weakness when you're flying with a mentor, and then after some time you can fly by yourself. So we need to put all of those together, all the missing pieces together. And this is a Chinese proverb which I like. It says, "Tell me, I may remember, show me, I will remember, involve me, and I will understand." I will understand why I need to do this, and after that, I'll do this, when you involve me. So it's your responsibility to take charge of your health, get the correct tests, determine the underlying causes, focus on the cause and not the symptoms. We correct the underlying dysfunction, address the body as a whole, have a systematic approach, and consistent mentorship. Now, this is the slide I'd like to end with, because, and if you're in a position to just write that hardy nutritionals, this one is is one that with people who have mental health problems, the proportion of the micronutrients is close to what we would want and what we would recommend for people to take to help underlying deficiencies. Then the probiotics, when you go to like CVS or Walgreens, when you look at the different probiotics that are there, if you're using those, it will help to populate your gut with different kinds of bacteria. And after some time, as you consistently expose your body to the right kind of nutrition and the probiotics, your body begins to heal itself. Of course, we have to talk about the essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are the building blocks for the neurotransmitters. So if you can get those, that is also helpful. And then of course the omega-3s and the fish oil. So my focus is mainly helping the body to heal as a whole. And with a main focus on the mental health and what we need to do to optimize our mental health. Thank you.
Wow, Dr. Sarah, what a rich presentation. That is such a wealth of information that you have shared with us. Wow, yes. I'm just taking that in because it's a lot of really good nuggets around just holistic health and around just taking care of ourselves. Such a good focus on preventive health as well. And it's just a lot of nuggets. I hope everybody was able to take those in and just think about how you're going to integrate those, because it's very easy sometimes to want a quick fix. We live in a microwave society where when something is wrong, we want to fix it right away. And so it's very easy to pop a pill really quickly sometimes. It's very easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to, and I know I've been there sometimes and I'm like, just give me a quick Tylenol so I can keep moving. But when you take a quick Tylenol, just be mindful that you're just treating a symptom. You need to figure out what exactly is going on. And sometimes I know I just need sleep. I just need to sleep and then I will be fine. I need to maybe take care of myself. Are you hydrating well? And it's ironic because there you go drinking your water. Sometimes that's what we need, to just do something different and just watch how that makes, something preventive, and listening to your body, listening to just what messages are being sent. One of the things I usually say is, if you don't listen to your body will just shout at you and shut you down. And sometimes being down for 3 days because you're sick and trying to rejuvenate the body is more costly than if you took some time intentionally and built in time on your schedule to do some self-care. Those are such powerful nuggets, and I like how you shared. I'm going to ask if you have any questions to put them in the chat box, by the way. If you have any questions for our panelists, please put those in the chat box, and we have a few minutes. They can respond to those if you have those. But I wanted to just comment on one of my favorite things that you touched on, is that check engine light, where sometimes you just turn it off until you have to do the walk of shame. I don't know if you all know the walk of shame, with your red gallon on the highway trying to find the nearest gas station. I don't like that walk, because it means I should have, put some gas on when the dial. I am one of those people, when it gets to quarter, for me, that's empty, I fill it up. But I know there are some of you here who are okay riding on fumes. I'm not gonna ask for any hands to be raised. I don't ride on fumes, because when that car falls on the middle of the highway on the bridge, the shame on your face, like I should have, I could have. So thank you for touching on those. The same attention we give to, say, charging our phones. There's one visual I know I've shared before, where are you charging your body with the same kind of attention that you charge your phone? That some of us, when your phone is like at below 50%, you're quickly asking your kids and your family, where's my charger? Where's my charger? But do we do that with our bodies? Do we do that with our families when you see some of the interaction within the family and you're like, wow, this person has kind of been looking fatigued or snapping or doing whatever it is they're doing and saying, maybe we need to take a break. Maybe we need to have some time off. So thank you so much for sharing such wisdom with us. I did not receive any questions from everybody, but I have one question I want to throw at Pastor Chege if you're still on there. Especially as a pastor and somebody who is counseling families within from a faith-based standpoint, especially, I want you to comment on how do we balance the role of, it's kind of a threefold, the role of culture, the role of spirituality and religiosity, and taking care of our physical health. For example, how do you speak to a family who comes to you and you know there's some underlying mental health issues? You pray with them, but you also are aware they do need to seek some professional help, but they are African people. And how would you handle that within a family?
Well, that's quite a loaded question, but I'll try to answer it. Now, we have always said in Africa, especially in Kenya, we are a generation caught up between two cultures, the African culture, the Western culture, and sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes it's really gets us messed up. But I would say that the balance is needed. The balance between our African culture, need for medical help, need for spiritual help. As a pastor who doubles up as an occupational therapist and a business person, this comes out very clearly because it's true, I've met people who have mental health issues, but they are so spiritual, so to speak, that they don't want to deal with anything to do with medical help. They want us to deal with it like spiritual and spiritual only. But the truth is, if my mental health issues are coming out of a stressful situation in my life, like what you're saying, not taking enough rest or not taking care of my body, then doesn't matter how much we pray together, doesn't matter how much of the Bible study we do, we still have to go back and eat well. We still have to go back and take care of the body and take care of how we are spending our time and our energy. You see, the Bible is clear about some of these things. For example, when it talks of physical exercise, there's some place Paul says physical exercise is good and beneficial to the body, but spiritual exercise is also very important. So you see, Jesus also said, I didn't come for those who are healthy. I came for the sick because it's the sick that need the physician. Jesus never told us never to see a physician. So it is lack of scriptural knowledge that makes people set aside seeking help or medical help where they need it. It also a lack of good knowledge when we have mental health issues caused by nutrition, and we still want the pastor to lay his hands on us. I'm one of those pastors who rarely lay hands on people. I like being practical. You see, it's like if you bring your child to me for counseling, and then I realize you're the one who's putting too much pressure on this child, I'll not pray for you. I will tell you, go back home and do what you need to do. Stop putting pressure on your child. I think it's high time, especially let me talk of Christians, it's high time we be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we blame God for what we should have done. I just Satan. I say that in quotes. We blame him for so many things that he never did or said, while it was all our fault. We blame him when we don't rest and get sick. and we fight all these demons. Now, which demon do we fight there? I don't know. So I think, I don't know whether I'm answering the question, but I think we need to do a good study of the scriptures. And when it comes to our African culture, there are those things that are helpful. There are things that will not be helpful. And those are things that we need to shed off. Just set them aside and let's take what is helpful to us.
Wow, that is so good. Thank you. I do know you as one of those pastors who's not quick to lay hands, because sometimes you want to know, especially the, as somebody who's a minister myself, I will confidently say that it's sometimes we have the repeat customers a lot. And even I'm hesitant sometimes to lay hands on people because I'm like, weren't you on the prayer line last week for the same issue and last month and last year? I too get hesitant and I say, let's talk about what's really going on here. If there are some things that, because God gives us wisdom, you shared it so well, God gives us wisdom to act on some things. And, you know, we're waiting on God when God's waiting on us. And sometimes we just need to be activated to take some actions and do some of that preventive health to resolve the issue. I want to invite, thank you, that's really powerful. I want to invite my friend and peer, Julia Sana, who is also a mental health counselor, licensed mental health counselor and marriage and family therapist as well in the West Palm Beach area in Florida, to share with us. She's also a parent and minister and doing a lot of things. Most of us are familiar with her. Share some wisdom also around parenting and managing family around, especially with COVID restrictions. Go ahead, Julia.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Gatumu and Pastor Chege. Those were such awesome reminders on whole person health and the reality of mental health versus spiritual health and not confusing the two. Pastor Chege, I appreciated you mentioning about children having their own mind, because sometimes as parents, we do forget that. And I loved Dr. Gatumu sharing about being so observant when a child comes in. So my thing that I wanted to just share briefly is for us as parents, especially when we're going through the COVID restrictions. And I know at home in Africa right now, a lot of the places are putting in COVID restrictions as the numbers are changing. And it can be really tough with children, especially with young children still at home. I know the last time I talked to my family, that some of the schools had not started yet. So children are still home they're going to be home for quite a few months. And I wanted to remind our parents that some of the stress we might be feeling as parents is what we experienced out here in the West last year when we had the major lockdowns. And one of the things you notice with the children, they might be having more tantrums, meaning they're misbehaving a lot more often than they used to misbehave, or they might be crying, and you have that challenge that you want to discipline them. And as African parents, we all grew up with being disciplined. And so we might have modeled that in our own lives. But I really wanted to encourage us to take a step back before we discipline the children, to find out what is really going on. Because one of the things that parents have not looked at sometimes is the fact that children are also experiencing COVID stress. And that means a young child does not know how to tell you that they're feeling a mental health stress, or they're experiencing emotional stress. So they might express it by crying more, or having a tantrum, or not sleeping. Their sleep patterns are disrupted. And when I was doing sessions with children during the height of the COVID pandemic, that was the one thing we noticed. A lot of the children are anxious, or sleeping patterns, their eating patterns are different. They might be more defiant because they don't know how to tell you how they're feeling. So one of the things that I share with parents is to enact these 4 things, which is stop, breathe, think, act. So stop, breathe, think, act. In other words, before you discipline them, please stop and think about ask yourself, is this really a discipline issue, or are they experiencing something else that is going on? And then breathe. You calm yourself down as a parent. And as African parents, that's not what we were used to. But one thing I got that was a great example from my mom was when things would happen and she felt she was wrong, she would actually come to us as children and apologize. And that was not a model that we had in a lot of the families, but that is how your children learn how to trust you when they realize you also are reacting out of stress. So the breathing, the stop and breathing, and then you think about it, and then you act, then you decide, is this something I need to discipline them for right now? And even the measure of the discipline that you give them really, really matters, so that you don't discipline your child in anger. In fact, even the Bible encourages us, if you're a person of faith, or even if you're a pastor, because I know Muslim brothers and sisters just finished Ramadan 2 days ago, or a day ago, and I know we have those families also here online and in our African families. Either way, whatever religion we're practicing right now, there's that unction to love our children and not just to be overlords over them. So I wanted to encourage us with our parenting stress to stop, think, act, and then breathing by controlling ourselves, and also finding out how we can enact rest in our own lives at this time, and finding ways to soothe them and listening to them, listening to what they need. I promise you, we're not going to spoil our children by listening to them, because the old school way used to be children are there to be seen and not heard. But it's really, really vital now that our children learn. They model what we do. So when we listen to them and hear what's really going on with them, then we can actually have a conversation. And your child, since today we're focused on the African family, your child might actually be able to tell you something that is life-changing. They might be able to say, Mom, Dad, I'm having these thoughts. I'm thinking of hurting myself, or a friend of mine is hurting themselves. What do I do? Or somebody is trying to is making this decision and I don't know what to say. Sometimes children will not talk about things like that until they feel that they're safe with you as a parent, that you can be able to be their sounding board. So I want to encourage us in that. And thank you so much, Dr. Lil. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Julia, for those words of wisdom. That's great. I like how you usually share examples of the things that you're actually doing with your family. And just to build onto that, the art of listening, and Pastor Chege had spoken about some of that, with just being able to listen, that you're not spoiling your child when you listen, because sometimes we are perpetuating generational issues. And as you are talking, a question just popped on the chat box for Pastor Chege. That's kind of building on what Julia just shared. How did you and your wife react or respond when your son, and I think Victor is online today, so you can also invite him to comment, when he did not want to pursue medicine or just a career in healthcare? What tips would you share or provide, especially to parents in the diaspora, even parents, elsewhere, in terms of how do you help your kids to choose the right career path? And how do you navigate that conversation? You successfully did it, but I think there's a curiosity about what are those steps? How do you walk that journey? Because sometimes we think like our parents' generation at the expense of our kids' sanity and success. So could you respond to that question in terms of what are some, in hindsight, can you probably share some of those? I know your girls are also growing. What are some really practical tips you can say, sit down and have this conversation with them around careers?
Okay, thank you for that question. Let me begin by saying that first, there was shock, a great shock, because for all those years, we actually used to call him Dr. Chege all the time. And then he comes up with this conference. So we were shocked. And it was not easy to accept the fact that we're not going to pursue a medical course. We have invested in a cytology and histology laboratory, and we were very sure that he's going to be a doctor and most likely a pathologist and come and help us build this big diagnostic center. But what we did, for me, it was easier because of the experiences I shared earlier, to accept his position and to listen to him and hear him. For my wife, Kezia, it was a bit harder because she really wanted Victor Chege to be Dr. Victor Chege. And we had to talk a lot later on, but this is what we did. After we had overcome our shock, we sat down with our son and we really wanted to know, why do you want to pursue this other course other than the one we thought you were to take? And he told us, that's me. I've not had time to do a lot of music because of the education system in Kenya. It's so demanding on children, but that's my passion and that's what I want to do. So what we did, we just went through the courses and the different universities and had like a week to discuss and tell him, pray about it and see whether what we're talking about is it. And after a few days, we realized that this young man had talked out of his heart. But all these years, he feared us. He respected us, sort of, in quotes. He never wanted to challenge what we used to say and call him doctor. But I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and he's here. Maybe he can give him an opportunity just to say a word about it himself. Victor, just come here and just share a bit about that kind of experience. There is Victor Chege.
Yes. Yes, hello. So that's me who was being referred to. What was the question again?
The question is about you changed courses from what
Yes.
we used to call you Dr. Chege, and now you
Yeah.
want to do music. How did you handle that transition? How did you?
Okay. Maybe after I shared my experience or what I was feeling was the right direction for me to go. I think I was at a place where I was comfortable sharing my heart out to my parents, because it was just right after completing high school, and I had taken time to pray about it, even while during my last year in high school. So I think by the time I was expressing myself, the Lord had enabled me to overcome that fear that I had, or the respecting course that my dad was talking about, because of my soft-spoken nature. When I was a kid, I think my mind used to view everything that is being expressed to me by adults, for example, who are responsible over my life at a certain point, either in school or at home, as the 100% truth. But now, when I became a teenager, you reach a point where something in you starts questioning everything. And I think a part of my destiny was pushing me towards something, but I was not understanding what was happening inside my mind. So after I expressed myself, I actually felt easy. I felt like my heart now was at ease. And even while we went through the courses that were available, I felt like my life was now aligning up, and I was really glad that I was also able to start off that journey together with my parents. Yeah.
Well, okay, I think we have heard Victor, and that was his experience. And I want to say we have 4 kids. Our second-born daughter also took a route in music. She is a teacher. She took a degree in music in Swahili. Our third-born is only 16 years old. He's learning his 4th music instrument, but all is not lost, because our last-born daughter actually wants to become a doctor, and she's very focused about it. Back to you, Lillian.
I like how you're sharing that. And I see Julia smiling because they also are a very musical family, and their kids are also, I think you all should connect offline and talk about just how the role of music in your families and the kids' lives. I know we are out of time, but it's always so precious when we have a male panelist on our webinar because it's so rare. So Pastor Chege, I'm gonna kind of ask you to unmute your camera again. So you can just speak briefly to this group. We really struggle with getting men to participate in our webinars. I'm going to give a shout out to Ignatius, my friend from Maryland, who's always here, even when other men don't show up. Him and a couple of other people really show up. There he is waving. And I think I saw somebody called Ben and Anthony, a couple of people there. But I want you to just speak to men's mental health in like 5 minutes or so. And how do we, I'm getting a lot of questions about how do we get the men in here? How do we address their mental health? What can we do? So maybe a couple of tidbits to just give the ladies to go home with. How do you support the mental health of your sons, your husbands, your brothers? Because they have the African stoicness of keep it in and just be a man and pull yourself by your bootstraps. Can you just comment on that in a couple of minutes and give us some tips to go home with for men's health?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lillian. Now, you're not the only ones who are facing this problem with men, because even in church, it's not easy to bring men in. And when we are trying to build the family, even from as church and community, it has been a challenge because most men are not available. They are keeping off. They feel like they are not part of what they're doing. This belongs to women and children. And right here in Kenya, and I think wherever we are, we know that men are facing a lot of mental health issues. In Kenya right now, we have this problem with alcohol and violence against women and children. Right now, it's really bad. And we are wondering how we are going to get through to men so that they can open up and get help. And if there's any man who is going to listen to me, and maybe even after this, I would say there's no strength in denying that we need help. And I think Dr. talked about, we need to admit that we all need help. And the good mental health for men means good mental health for all. When men are stressed, let me tell you something, when I'm stressed in this house, everyone knows. And you can see it even in our dogs. Because that day I may shout at them and they wonder, Master, what have we done? You know, dogs look at you in a way to say, what are you saying? You know? Now, we may not be able to bring in men as a crowd, but we can win them one by one. And I personally, what I'm thinking about is we begin thinking about the man next to me, about my son. This is what I've done in my family, where I come from. I told you we are many children, 20 of us. And I think more than half of them, they are men. And I'm the second last born in my mother's household. My mother was the first wife. But as we speak right now, I and my last born brother are very respected at home. And anytime they have a meeting, if we are not there, it will not be there. Why? Because we decided to reach out to our brothers and our own dad, a man at a time. I remember the many times I started with my father. I was never bitter at him. We had very many good, wonderful sessions with my dad. And tried to bring out those issues in them. When it comes to reaching out to the people next to us, it's not easy because they all see us as that little brother or that you know what I'm talking about. There's that saying that the prophet is not known except in his hometown. It's so much so even in homes. But what we need to do is to before we think of the men in the village, let us think of men who are next to us. And one way of reaching out to men is not bashing them as in telling them, you men have been left behind. We men also like to be listened to. And before we open up, we like knowing that our secrets are safe. That what we are going to share will not become the story of the whole village. And that's the African man. So let's first of all win the trust of the men around us. Let them know that we think about them, we care about them, we are concerned about their welfare. As much as we talk of men not wanting to talk about their mental health, but I think there's also an undue pressure on men to perform. Even from women. I was walking my dogs the other day, and I met a mother walking with a boy, and this mother threatened the son, said, you know what, if you trouble me again, I will allow that big dog to chew you. So I stopped with my big black Russian terrier, he's very, very well trained, and I had a chat with this woman. I told her, Mama, what you've done to your child today will take many years to deal with, because you have just instilled a lot of fear. But tomorrow, when he shows fear, you'll tell him, behave like a man. Behave like a man. Now, if this boy shows fear later on in life, will Mama remember that I threatened her with a big dog so that, deal with that fear? So sometimes we're expecting a lot from men, and we forget that they have had their own experiences that made them shut down, made them not open up. One of them is our culture. And as we say that, right now in Kenya, every tribe is trying to go back to their roots. In my community, men are being taken through a lot of teachings on how to be a Kikuyu man, a macho Kikuyu man. And some of the things we are taught as men is not to speak so much about our emotions and about our inner, turmoil and our inner struggles. And that women and children should never know about how we are feeling. And this is actually destroying so many men. And if there's any man listening to me, let me tell you something. As your fellow man, take what helps you. Set aside cultural practices that will not allow you to be who God created you to be. But let me not digress. Let me go back to how do we help the men? First of all, let's win their trust. I said that. Number two, think about that man next to you. If you are a wife, don't look at your man like he's not man enough because he has these mental issues, he's stressed, he's angry. I think there was a point Dr. talked about, said, find out the root cause. If a man is showing some signs of stress or depression, there's a way we can reach out to them. We can study them. Many of them give cues. Here and there, they may make a statement about their lives, how they had these difficulties growing up, or when they are going to school, and maybe what they had to do. And it gives you a cue about what could be happening in the life of this man next to me. So whether at home or in our communities, in our churches, in our synagogues, in our mosques, let's reach out to that man next to us, because it's harder to reach out to a man that you don't know than the man that you know. Yep.
Thank you. Wow, thank you for such wisdom. There are things that we can say all day here with Julia, but it's received more when it comes from the mouth of a man sometimes. And so I'm just grateful that you are able to be here for them. What you have said has an impact. And it will carry beyond this meeting today. It's going to have an impact on a lot more people by just knowing that people have asked for your contact information and people will reach out. And we're going to wrap up right now. I apologize for us going over, but this was really rich content and I did not want to cut it off because this has been really a good experience. The impact on one person in the family impacts the rest of the system. There's some of us here who do family and couples work. You know that when one person is impacted, it impacts the whole system. And so I want to encourage us to be attentive to the whole system. I think Julia put something in the chat box about just being able to, the issues that may impact couples as well, that we need to attend to. And I think one of these days we're going to do a mental health session just for couples, so that we can have some conversation about the dynamics that happen between them. But I want us to wrap up. I'm going to ask providers, if you're there today, just put your info in the chat box so people can know that you're here, who you are, where you are, so people can reach out to you, people can contact you. This is about the village. This is not just about us. None of us want to shine. We just want to make sure there's healing in the village, because if there's one person in the village who's impacted, we are all there. We are all there to say what happened, whether it's somebody who's died by suicide, whether it's somebody who's struggling with substance use, we're there. And so we are working on, Dr. Sarah talked about preventive work. That is where we're going to do a lot more preventive work. So right now, I just want to remind you that we do have monthly meetings, and we're going to encourage you to join us. Next month, we'll continue to do this on a monthly basis. I've put the information for the Promoting African Mental Health Facebook page on there. You can look for us on Facebook. Also, the Network of African Mental Health Practitioners, that is for providers only. We do monthly meetings. Usually we tend to do this mental health webinar on the second Saturday of the month, and we meet with the providers on the fourth Saturday of the month, or the last Saturday of the month. So keep a lookout. If you need for us to email you information, send me an email and I can put you on our mailing list so you can be able to join us and participate in the work we're doing. So without further ado, I just want to appreciate you all. The recording of the webinar will be available. You can watch it on Facebook it's already there. But if you want to have a recording to share with people within your network who are not part of any kind of social media outlets, I will email you a link to my YouTube channel and you can be able to access our information that way in other recordings from previous months. Otherwise, I want to appreciate our panelists today, Dr. Sarah Gatumu and Pastor Joseph Mung'ara, and as well as Julia for your input, and all the other providers on here. I see Nestor, I see Marian, I see Pauline. I see a lot of other providers here who have been very instrumental in the work we are doing. It takes a village. Otherwise, I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend and God bless you so much. Thank you.